Hello, internets. How are we this evening? Hope everybody is having a fantastic Friday. It doesn't feel like Friday for me, folks. I am back in the saddle again. I've been on a job site all week and went from one extreme to the other. From not being on any job sites to being on one for 10 hours a day. So it's getting gnarly, and I'm commuting to Oakland. So it is interesting. It is interesting indeed. How is everyone doing tonight? I am streaming later than I normally do. Things are going to be sporadic at the best for the foreseeable future. I'll be streaming basically whenever I can. I'll give you guys as much notice as possible. I was supposed to interview a survivor from the USS Liberty tonight, and that obviously isn't happening. We rescheduled for Sunday. We had a little bit of a mix-up on our schedule. He thought we were scheduled for tomorrow. I thought he was scheduled for today. So we moved it to Sunday. And that'll be better anyways, because I want to talk about all the crazy Trump stuff going on, because it is quite insane, folks. I mean, I feel like we crossed the Rubicon quite a while ago, but I don't know why I didn't think they were going to find him guilty. I really didn't. I didn't think even the most insane jury in the world would find him guilty. And they did. They found him guilty. It's quite amazing. Quite amazing indeed. Let me pop the chat out here. RGS, nice to see you, dude. I know I did I didn't think I was going to do a stream tonight, but I just decided to. There's so many things I wanted to talk about. So let me pop this out over here. Get it in the right location. There we go. Let's see. All right. Well, what's going on here? All right. How's everybody doing, folks? If you are I know I'm normally streaming at 6:30. It's a little bit later, so I don't have my ordinary audience. There's going to be some of you guys that aren't in the chat because you're sleeping. So, Tradcat, nice to see you. I'm doing good aside from the Trump kangaroo trial. I know it is I'm looking at more of like a Soviet show trial like that. This really reminds me of old school Soviet show trials where they just, they already knew they were going to give them 10 years before they just did a trial to show everybody to say, look, we did a trial. And that's what they did. And except there was a jury involved here. I don't know why. Again, I don't know why I thought that they weren't going to convict him, but they did. 37 counts. If you're new to the show, Scarlett likes to be part of the show. She is she is a ball stomper. She wanted to say hi. She is actually the star of the show, and I've been neglecting them very much all week. So she wanted to come say hi to you guys. I don't want to go for 2 hours tonight because I need to get to bed. I'm working again tomorrow. I've been getting like 4 hours of sleep at nights. I just got a workout in, like a super short one, just because I had to. Ichiban death, 34 counts. Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, whatever. Yeah. 34, 37, 47. It doesn't matter. Wasn't each one for like a different check? Like this whole thing's insane. I did a whole episode on how insane the charges were before he even got convicted. I know it's all BS. And so I'm not going to like rehash the whole trial situation. We'll just go into the reaction because I mean, anyone, literally anybody from the left, from the right, anybody that's looking at this honestly, and they're like, wait a minute, they're charging him with what? They're going after him for what? Wait a minute. I know I could think of tons of people off the top of my head that did this, like Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton did this. Yeah, nice to see you, Ichiban Death. I haven't never seen you in the chat before, so it's good. I'll be doing streams later and sporadically into the foreseeable future because this new gig that I'm doing, I mean, this gig that I landed is probably only for a month, but it's something. It's money in the bank, so that's good to go. Yeah, I guess I'll just get right into it. Let's watch a bunch of clips because I want to talk about the Dave Smith completely devastating Chris Cuomo in a debate on Patrick Bet David, because it was better than I thought it was going to be. Of course, my dog waits until the show starts to start eating your food. He absolutely eviscerated Chris Cuomo and exposed him for everything that he is. And I want to talk about some of that stuff too. So, well, let's get right into it. Let's watch some clips and see how far this rabbit hole goes, because this shit is insane. All this Trump stuff is, yeah, that was a good debate. I haven't even finished watching it. It's such a long debate. I listened to the whole thing on my way home, and I got like another 45 minutes to go. So, all right, let's go over to I meme, therefore I am. So Trump put out a video today. Oh wait, let's go over to Benny Johnson, because Trump just put this video out today. It's like a campaign video, and whoever is doing his social media stuff's good. Whoever's putting these little videos together, because I mean, this really does show Joe Biden in the perfect light here. Here we go.
This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent.
Mr. President, can you tell us, sir, Donald Trump refers to himself as a political prisoner and blames you directly. What's your response to that, sir?
What a creep. He's such a creep. I'm surprised he didn't do the picture of him with the red background and the soldier standing behind him, where he looks like total Nazi Germany. We did it like a movie trailer. This whole situation is insane. The one thing I will say is I'm hearing tons of people say, that they don't, that this just won Trump the election. And I don't understand how people can say that, especially with all the different shenanigans that went on in 2020. Putting aside, I mean, the stuff that I usually focus on is the collusion between the deep state, FBI, CIA, all the Department of Homeland Security with the Twitter files and stuff that came out. The Time article, how the whole shadow campaign that they did, suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop, suppressing the Tara Reade story, vaccine information, not exposing the mandates for what they were, all of that stuff. How people would get their account suspended if they even talked about it. None of the corporate press talked about it. All of that stuff aside, now the actual things that people are alleging happened, and I tend to agree, the crazy shenanigans with the voting machines, tons of ballots getting dropped off at like 4 something in the morning, and, water pipes bursting, everything you would say for a rigged election. That usually gets your account nuked on YouTube, and I don't care about YouTube. None of that's been fixed. None of it's been fixed. What's been done to fix that? Now there's Twitter. Now X is here, which I feel like is turning right back into old Twitter. It's people are getting demonetized. They're doing the same thing on X now that they did on YouTube, where they'll threaten to demonetize accounts if they talk about certain things, and accounts are getting demonetized on Twitter. Well, it just holds it's the golden handcuffs thing. It's like what Tim Pool. It's like why Tim Pool is increasingly, like, every episode censors himself a little bit more and a little bit more, and he takes episodes down. Like, I guess his episode today, I haven't verified, but I heard that his episode today got taken down because Laura Loomer said something. And he doesn't go to Rumble. It's annoying. It's frustrating because, I mean, you get to a certain point where you're just not talking about things that need to be talked about anymore because you're scared that your channel's going to get demonetized. Well, now X is starting to do that too. A bunch of accounts there's permanent suspensions going on. There's accounts getting demonetized. They just rolled out this new thing where everybody has to verify their identity, and it's some third-party company out of Israel that's doing it. So I'm not too sure about that, all that stuff. T-Bone Tony, Timcast was shut down at 6:30 tonight. Interesting. Yeah, I wonder what Laura Loomer said. Oh, I heard she said something about like going to war or something like that. Or yeah, something along that. People are itching for their ballots today. Why wait till November? Well, that's the thing. I mean, nothing else has changed. Like the only thing that's changed is now there's X and you can talk about stuff. But even that, I feel like as the closer we get to towards November, the more things you're not going to be able to talk about. And YouTube hasn't been fixed. They'll still kick you off at a whim. Any of the other social media platforms. I mean, Rumble's it's gotten bigger, but I mean, all that stuff aside, they haven't fixed anything with the elections. Same voting machines, same people counting the votes. California still has universal mail-in ballots. I genuinely think that with RFK running this year, this election, that Trump could win California. I mean, a lot of people think Trump won California last election. Look, people don't understand the gravity of how rigged California elections are and how many. I mean, we got a ton of electoral votes. Trump wins California. That's kind of it, folks. That's a wrap. Well, universal, I say it like every episode, universal mail-in ballots, no voter ID verification, which is insane. Just those two things by themselves. You don't need to show your ID to vote. And there's mail-in ballots. You get a month to vote. They get like 6 weeks to count the vote. Granted, the presidential election, they're not going to take that long. But in the primary, it took them 6 weeks to count the votes. I know, I ran for office. The DMV automatically registers people to vote. It's the honor system. If you're an illegal immigrant and you want to vote, just kind of ask for a ballot and check a box and say, I'm a citizen. You can vote. I mean, all of these insane things, just stuff that I'm just glossing over that I'm not even mentioning. But California elections are rigged in every single way. Other states are the same way. They haven't fixed anything. So I don't understand why so many people think that Trump has this thing wrapped up. And I mean, not to mention, we kind of have, we're inching closer to war with Russia. Israel's inching closer to war with all the same countries they normally inch closer to war with. It's just they're ramping it up even further and they're trying to drag us into it. China's about to invade Taiwan. So what happens if we got a war on 3 fronts and then Joe Biden's like, oh, we're not having an election. We're at war. Sorry. That kind of thing. That's not, I mean, look, they just found the front runner for the presidential election, not just the front runner for the Republican Party, but the front runner for the presidential election just found him guilty and they could possibly lock him up. How is it completely far-fetched to speculate that the sitting shell of a man president might actually, his handlers might actually tell him, yeah, we got to like put a postpone on the election or call or say we can't have an election right now, state some sort of wartime powers because we're at war on 3 different fronts. How is that so far-fetched? I don't understand why people are just like, Trump's going to win the election now because of this conviction thing. They know something that we don't. They have stuff up their sleeves for sure. I want to talk about the libertarian candidate, but I'm not even going to have time to get into that. That is a whole other situation. Pete Grabber, nice to see you. Grunt Hunt, United States Marine Corps. Hey, that's awesome. I'm working with a Marine right now, and it's funny. I was just talking all sorts of Marine talk with my buddy that I'm working with, and then my other buddy Roscoe, who is a former scout sniper, and he was over in Iraq during peacetime, and they started having like a Marine little jerk off fest with each other, talking about where were you, what regiment were you in or whatever. I don't know. I didn't serve. I don't know what that kind of stuff means, but yeah, it was kind of cool. I was a little matchmaker today. It was nice. My guy I'm working with, my buddy Roscoe. All right, Grunt, nice to see you. Yeah, okay, let's keep going. I'm gonna babble for way too long, and I'm trying not to go for 2 hours tonight. So this is the not a jerk off fest of finding where they are. No, it was no, I know it wasn't a jerk off fest. Roscoe would beat me up if I said it was a jerk off fest too. He's like, yeah. Anyway, yeah, no, it wasn't a jerk off fest, but that's what I call it. Yeah, let's keep going. Let's talk about how Democrats are reacting. Not Democrats. Even tons of Democrats are thinking this is insane. But there's a bunch of leftists, going insane, like the Keith Olbermann types, writing stuff on the sidewalk, just going absolutely insane. Well, this is a perfect example of what is happening right now. This guy right here. So Anybody else says this, they got Secret Service coming for them. So this is just, there's tons of people doing stuff like this, like cheering that Trump's going to get locked up. And I think it's a very small fraction of the population.
Fuck him. Fuck Trump every day. Fucking kill the guy next. I'm down for whatever. Just get.
What? I'm sorry. What did you say? I think that's a call to violence against the former president of the United States. You're not supposed to do that. Like, how is that okay? And that's the type of rhetoric we're getting all over the place, all over the freaking place. Let's keep going. I'm gonna try to plow through these as fast as possible because there's a ton I want to get through, and I only want to go like 90 minutes max because I'm on like 4 hours of sleep for the last 5 nights in a row. It's starting to get to me, folks. But I'm happy. I'm happy that I'm back in the field. It's nice. It's nice doing things again. All right, this is from Chad Prather. He says, let me be effing clear. I voted for Donald Trump 2 times, and I will be voting for Donald Trump a 3rd time in November. Today is a dark day for America. And he posted this video here.
Are you worried about going to jail?
The person shouts out, are you worried about going to jail? Shut up, you turd.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA, and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end and we'll win because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. We're a nation in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists, and they're taking over our country. We have a country that's in big trouble. But this was a rigged decision right from day one, with a conflicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case, never. And we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
Why should voters vote for a convicted felon?
Are you going to drop out? You believe in the rule of law? You trust the jury? Are you
He's not wrong. He's not wrong about anything except this. He says the judge shouldn't have been allowed to try this trial. It should never have been a trial. This never should have been brought. This whole thing's insane. And anybody looking at the case for what it is, the Stormy Daniels confession on like 3 separate occasions saying that none of this happened, she wasn't coerced, all this stuff, Cohen saying that he's the one that paid her, and all of it. It's nonsense. And it's not even illegal to pay somebody to not talk about something, and Trump didn't even pay her directly. Even if he did, that's not illegal to get her to shut up and not say stuff. They're saying that it was because he used election funds, campaign funds. It's insane. And the district attorney, this is Alvin Bragg, right? It's something like 70% of felony cases in his district get dropped down to a misdemeanor. And then they take all of these things that are misdemeanors and increase them to felonies. This is so obviously a show trial and election interference. The Department of Justice is in bed with them. The whole thing's insane. The whole thing is just absolutely insane. Like I keep saying stuff like they crossed the Rubicon, but I mean, they really did. But they keep crossing the Rubicon. There keeps being more Rubicons that they're crossing. It's insane. There's another video that Trump dropped. This is from Truth Social. This happened right after the right after he got convicted.
This is the final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media, and we will liberate America from these villains once and for all.
His marketing people are good. But I mean, I'm very Dave Smith on how I view Donald Trump. Plenty of stuff I agree with him on, but he surrounded himself with the swamp. I don't think he is going to cast out the globalists, all that kind of stuff. His COVID policies, not pardoning Assange and Snowden. I mean, all sorts of stuff that I was not a fan of what he did during COVID, during most of his presidency. There's things, his bump stock ban, all sorts of stuff that I'm not cool with. But I mean, this has just gotten to a point where it's like, I mean, I have to, I have to. I almost think I shouldn't vote for Trump because I didn't vote for Trump in 2016 and he won, and I'm superstitious. And I did vote for Trump in 2020 because Joe Jorgensen was so freaking horrific and he lost. Well, he lost. So I almost think I shouldn't vote. I shouldn't vote at all. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. My vote doesn't matter. I'm in California, right? But it's and they're rigged. I don't know. I do not see them. I don't see how they can let him back into office. They've pushed this so far that if they allow Trump back into office, it's over for all of them. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't even trust Trump to go after everybody. The January 6th stuff, the whole show trials they did with January 6th stuff, they've started taking political prisoners. I don't think people truly tons of people do, but I mean, even people that understand the gravity of the situation probably don't fully understand the gravity of the situation. We're in it right now, so it's hard to step back and look at this from like a historical perspective, because that's what's happening right here. This is stuff that will be written out about in history. This is the kind of stuff that collapses a nation. They always talk about Trump's the biggest threat to democracy, and it's like we have to destroy democracy to save democracy. It's even though a republic, it's everything that's happening right now is just out of control. It's insane. I don't see how they could possibly let him back into office. Let's see what Alex Jones has to say about it, shall we?
55 plus years ago, our republic was founded. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we see our republic on its deathbed right now. President Trump was just found guilty on all 34 kangaroo counts, with the judge saying you don't even have to agree, just find him guilty in total violation of law. They don't care the case will be overturned. They want the headline in this campaign that he is a convicted felon because they believe that'll backfire on President Trump. I predict, as I've done for the last year, that all these fake indictments and fake convictions that are coming will backfire on the deep state and the globalists. The problem is, if you look at their next playbook and the next card in their playbook, their next move, it will be false flag terror attacks blamed on Trump supporters angry about the verdict. We do not want any violence. We do not want any attacks. We are intellectually, culturally, spiritually winning. We've got to back Trump to the hilt. He's not perfect, but he's America first. He cares about this country, and he actually tried to be the president and turn this country around 90%. And the deep state believes they own this nation. They believe they own you. He pulled us out of the UN Health Treaty. He pulled us out of the WHO. They want all of that in place. They want to cut off our energy. They want to put the carbon taxes in. They want to dissolve our borders. They want drag queen pedophile time. And President Trump is opposing every one of their agendas. So now is the time to get serious. With 158 days left, the most important election in world history, realize that the deep state that was hiding is now out in the open, and they are desperate. And they have all these fake civil trials and criminal trials, and they've been caught in every single one of them engaged in classical show trial, kangaroo court, railroading. So this is them being convicted of tyranny and judicial oppression, not President Trump. This is a conviction of the globalists, just like when 2 judges found me guilty and then had show trials and told juries I was guilty, just find out how guilty I am. That blew up in their faces. See,
that's the thing too. Like, all you got to look at this stuff all as a cumulative thing. The way they went after the J6ers, the $1 billion, who gets a $1 billion judgment against them? And it was he didn't even get a chance to argue back. They just said he didn't cooperate. So he gets, they try to say he owes $1 billion. It's, like I said again, yeah, the J6ers. It's all of the stuff happening. I mean, when we look back at history, we always look at things in 10, 20, 15 year spans. That's kind of how you have to look at all the stuff that's happening right now. Like from when Trump beat Hillary Clinton all the way up until 2024, all the things that have happened in that 8-year period. I mean, go from, it was Hillary calling people a basket of deplorables. Like that was the big thing back then. Hillary calling people a basket of deplorables. How can a presidential candidate call a giant portion of the population, maybe even half of the population, a basket of deplorables? Well, now, I mean, MAGA people are commonly referred to as terrorists. They're called maggots. It's just straight dehumanization. And the January 6ers that got locked up, put in solitary confinement, people that have their careers ruined for talking about this stuff. I don't think the weight of everything that's happening can be overstated. And I'm not trying to be like a fear merchant here either, because when things are going really bad and you wake up in the morning and this sounds cheesy, but when you wake up in the morning and you hear the birds chirping and the sun rises, it's like, oh yeah, the world keeps turning. Like things, no matter how bad it gets. I mean, even in the worst of World War II, there were still pockets of Europe that were, I don't know about thriving, but people keep going. So I'm not trying to be a complete fear merchant, but I mean, what's happening right now is it's like fall of the Republic type stuff. I don't want to be too doom and gloom, because I don't think that's. Read Michael Malice's The White Pill, and you guys will have a better idea of what I'm talking about. It's like there always is sort of a light at the end of the tunnel type thing. It's just something that we have to go through, but it is quite insane what's happening right now. Let's finish with Alex Jones.
The same thing happening here today. Please follow me at Real Alex Shows on X. Please follow us at Infowars.com/show, where we're live right now covering all this with live feeds at X. And tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central, I'll be covering all this as well. Harrison Smith, 8 a.m. weekdays. Owen Shore at 3 p.m. He's live right now with Brian.
Harrison and Owen are great. They are awesome. So let's keep going here. RFK. Let's see what RFK has to say about it, shall we? Let's go to this one. Actually, let's see what the chat has to say here. So, Grunt the Marine. That's the thing. Any felony can keep you from keeping or renewing a clearance. Oh, I think you guys are chatting back and forth. Oh, you got to Grunt. RGS is a Navy guy, so you guys are. It's funny. You guys are chatting back and forth there. I feel like a matchmaker today, guys. All right. I think we're caught up on the chat. I'll keep going here. Let's see what RFK has to say about this, huh? So he says the Democratic Party strategy is to beat President Trump in the courtroom rather than the ballot box. This will backfire in November. Even worse, it is profoundly undemocratic. America deserves a president who can win at the ballot box without compromising our government separation of powers and weaponizing the courts. You can't save democracy by destroying it first. Exactly. The Democrats are afraid they will lose in the voting booth, so instead they go after President Trump in the courtroom. I'm also running against President Trump in this election. The difference is I'm challenging him on his record, his lockdowns during COVID, his atrocious environmental record, his cozy relationships with corporate America, his support for the war machine. aren't you a huge supporter of Israel, RFK? I mean, they're sort of, I mean, people are debating whether that's a genocide they're committing. I mean, I don't think you're super anti-war either. He continues his failure to root out waste and corruption in Washington, his service to the billionaire class, his bloating of the national debt. These are all issues that shape American lives. I'll be challenging him on these things, but the Democrats won't. You know why? Because they pursue the very same policies. Yeah, even worse. All right, let's keep going here. I'm making decent time. All right, so this is a reminder, like hush money. Here's Paula Jones bragging about taking hush money from Bill Clinton back in the 90s. It was what, like 95, 96, something like that. So this is Paula Jones.
There's the check.
And show them the check.
There's the check.
It's your check.
Paula's not going to be saying anything. Her attorneys are here today. So kind of officially, I think what we...
And the doctor says, Mama, why so much? He says, I have to buy a new faucet. It's $25.
Well, our agreement had a payment of money, $700,000 plus a statement by the president redeeming Paula Jones's reputation.
And what's your understanding of this agreement?
It's a cash payment of $850,000.
There's...
That's a lot. That was a lot of money. That's a lot of money today. Back in the 90s, that was probably like what 1.45 million back in the day. So, so they call it the Trump hush money case when the hush money thing isn't even what's on trial. They should just be calling it Trump's use of campaign funds case. And they're talking about people are cheering for Trump to be locked up for years. They're either completely dishonest about the situation or they have no idea what this whole trial was even about. This whole thing's insane. It's insane. Here's people on CNN being all, oh, actually, no, this is something else. So this has popped up on our radar. So it says, holy shit, this is what they're distracting you from. This is from Steve Loves Ammo over on Twitter here. He says, holy shit, what are they distracting you from with the Trump verdict? Joe Biden gave permission to Ukraine to use U.S. weapons inside of Russia. This is World War II or the World War III level bullshit right here is what he says. So let's watch this clip from Fox News really quick. All right, here we go.
Weapons inside Russia. How do you feel about that?
I think that's the right decision. I think, Ukraine needs to get whatever help it can get in defending itself. And I think NATO has urged that we allow those strikes. France, Germany, Great Britain, Canada, Finland, most of our allies have urged that. I think it is important for the United States to provide a unified approach that allows the Ukrainians to strike at those targets.
I don't know where this Ukraine war goes. You always hear, Secretary, that right now Russia is back having the full advantage here. Weapons inside.
It's funny. You hear tons of people talking about like, well, Putin's going to take all of Ukraine and Putin's going to invade Poland and all that kind of stuff. Looking sort of deeper at what's going on in Gaza and, with Rafah right on the border of the Sinai Peninsula with Egypt. And, Rafah's in Egypt too. It's the city. There used to be a city right on the other side of the border. That city no longer exists because Egypt basically got rid of it. But I'm more inclined to say that I think Israel, I'm not going to make any predictions, but I don't think it's so far-fetched for Israel to go after the Sinai Peninsula and try and get that back that they lost in, what was that, 74? During the 6-Day War, they gained all that land and then Egypt basically took it back. I don't think it's so far-fetched for them to make up some sort of excuse to get all that land back. So I'm just saying, I think they're more likely to do that than Trump is to invade Poland. So I'm just saying, I'm Trump. I mean, I don't think Trump's going to invade Poland, then Putin is to invade Poland. All right, let's keep going here. Oh boy. So this is okay. So this is from Wall Street Apes. This is more about 34 felonies. Yes, it is 34, not 37 felonies. So let's see what Byron Donalds and the boys have to say about this.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks for being here, everybody. Look, a couple things. First, what we're seeing here, what we're witnessing with the Biden family, frankly, is just a web of concealment, of deception. A lot of people would say corruption. But let's be very clear. You have this many companies involved with this velocity of transactions, size of transactions.
RGS, you think Israel's going to go after Egypt too? I'm not making any predictions, but to me, it's not so far-fetched for them to try and take the Sinai Peninsula. I'm just saying.
Like my colleagues have said, this is not how normal businesses operate. I had the ability with Chairman Cuomo and other members of the committee to go over to the Treasury building and review documents. And having read those documents, one thing became pretty crystal clear, that there were many people who had serious questions about the transactions and about the velocity of these transactions, and they either get very, very, very deep into concealment, hiding money, shifting money, and for the purpose, we don't know, because one thing everybody in this room and the American people definitely know is that the Biden family doesn't really have a business. There is no business structure around.
Grunt, I know they didn't help with the attack from their Iran. I don't think they maybe gave warning, like they gave warning about like how they warned them that Hamas was going to invade on October 7th, and they just seemed to ignore that for 6 hours and didn't respond. So yeah, that might be what you're thinking of. Maybe they did. Maybe they warned them about, Iran firing tons of missiles at them, even though they knew that attack was coming too, because it was in response to their bombing of the consulate, all that crap. So yeah, I imagine Egypt did warn them, but they already knew, like who didn't see that coming. Seymour Hersh wrote a really long article about this whole like wag the dog situation, where U.S. intelligence agencies actually told Israel, like, look, Iran's going to attack you with a bunch of rockets, and you're going to let it happen, and you're not going to respond because we're going to shoot them all down, and nothing's going to even enter Israeli territory. So let them do their whole dog and pony show, and we'll shoot down all the rockets. You can't respond. And this was like apparently the Pentagon trying to de-escalate things. You go to Seymour Hersh's Substack, and can't remember the name of the article, but it's probably only 5 or 6 articles back, but he wrote about it.
This family, except politics. And since Joe Biden has spent decades in the Senate, served 8 years as vice president, and is now president of the United States, and the family's getting money from various countries and foreign businesses through various shell companies and this web of LLCs. I mean, guys,
yeah, that's the thing. Like the stuff that they're going after Trump for, it's so minuscule, and it's almost like they're going after him for these petty little things, because if they go after him for anything that's big, like any sort of war crimes that they could have gone after him for from when he was president, well, then they'd have to go after Obama, then they'd have to go after Bush, then they'd have to go after Biden. But all the other stuff with the Burisma stuff with Hunter Biden, the classified documents in his garage, all sorts of stuff with Biden that they could easily go after him for, and they're not. They're just not. It's so transparently on its face corrupt at the highest levels, and the most powerful people in government are all involved. It's insane. What's happening right now is insane.
The press. This is easy pickings. I'm giving you Pulitzer stuff here. Like, all you have to do is literally look at our memo and see the level of detail upon which they have created this. And it's very, very frustrating. We have now been able to clearly see that the Biden's associates, like Rob Walker, Eric Sherman, has been discussed, created at least 16 companies while Joe Biden was vice president of the United States. 16 companies created while he was vice president. Now the list is 20, and as we continue our investigation, that list is growing. And like I said before, the question is to serve what purpose? And the purpose of all these companies being created is to conceal money that the Biden family has been gaining because Joe Biden has been sitting at the upper echelon of our politics for almost 5 decades. That is the entire purpose here. Here's an example of what I mean. You have Rosemont Seneca Partners, Rosemont Seneca Advisors, Rosemont Seneca Technology Partners, RSP Holdings, RSTP2 Alpha, RSTP2 Bravo, Rosemont Seneca Thornton, Rosemont Seneca Bohai. I want to make sure I pronounce it right. Bohai, B-O-H-A-I. And the list goes on and on. Cycling through this many companies serves no legitimate purpose.
Shenanigans, absolute shenanigans going on. Let's keep going here because I'm starting to run a little behind. So this is what I'm talking about. So Matt Walsh comes out and says, congratulations to Donald Trump on winning the 2024 presidential election. They've gone too far to allow Trump back into the Oval Office. They've got stuff up their sleeve. I don't think they will stop at anything. This is what makes me think that they will actually possibly lock him up, because I think they've jumped the shark. They've gone too far. They've crossed the Rubicon. They can't allow him back in the White House. They've got something up their sleeve. If it's not putting him in prison, it's for this. It's putting him in prison for something else. It's canceling the election because we're at war on 3 fronts. It's something worse that I can't say that they would do to him, or some unfortunate accident that might happen to him. I do not see them stopping at anything at this point. Like, this is how dangerous this entire situation has gotten. To me, this is very similar to the Soviet show trials and assassinate. Well, I don't want to say that word, but things that happened in Soviet Russia that was just, everybody knew it was corrupt. Nobody could say anything because something bad would happen to them. It's just right in everyone's face. So yeah, Matt Walsh says, congratulations to Donald Trump for winning the 2024 presidential election. And again, they didn't fix anything with the ballots. They didn't fix anything with who counts the ballots. Like, I don't know, folks. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe he somehow gets in there again. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe he wins California. We'll see. I don't know. So this is just more footage out of New York after, the amount of support we're seeing for him in New York is kind of crazy.
In so many of these states that it broke the algorithm. I'm never backing up. I got the truth and I'm gonna follow the key.
Yeah, lots of big crowds. His crowd in Brooklyn at that rally was pretty gnarly. Lots of people. All right, this one bugged me because these are the people that, I don't know if they're lying. I don't know if they understand how blatantly corrupt all of this is, and they're just trying to spin a certain narrative, or if they're genuinely happy that they're going to lock up Trump. They don't think there's anything wrong with it. But look how giddy these people are on CNN. And, these are the super progressive, crazy people that I see in the Bay Area that have just lost their minds. Like the first guy that I showed that said, F it, I don't care, do something really bad to Trump. That first thing that he said, these people are insane.
I strongly agree with that timeline. I strongly disagree. As Ryan knows, we spent countless hours. He edited me, putting me to the task. Aaron, he made me look at 10,000 New York falsifying business records cases. And here's what I discovered.
And that is why he is who he is.
We love him.
That's right.
And here's what I discovered.
Yes.
That in the most serious FBR cases, a sentence of imprisonment is routinely imposed. This is the most serious falsifying business records case in the history of the state of New York.
Look how giddy he is. He's so excited that they might lock up the presidential frontrunner and former president of the United States of America. Where we've gotten to is I can't stress enough the gravity of the situation. This is like fall of the republic type stuff. I don't want to be too much of a fear merchant and black pill everybody. And no, I don't think you should go out and be up in arms about stuff, but this crap is insane. This is absolutely insane how these people are speaking.
I think Alvin Bragg is going to ask for a sentence of incarceration, and I think Judge Merchan will very seriously weigh that.
So the special treatment you're saying would be if he were not given a prison sentence.
Right. And I think Judge Merchan will look at the case. We've debated this for years. Alvin Bragg put on an election interference case. I noted the words of Trump's team that this is an election interference case. Exactly. That's what 12 Americans just found, that Donald Trump engaged in a conspiracy to interfere with the 2016 election and covered it up. That's how you get a felon.
They're still going with Russia, Russia, Russia. They're still saying that Trump colluded with Russia and stole the 2016 election, while you would get kicked off of social media platforms and you're called a crazy conspiracy theorist if you say that Joe Biden, with the help from the intelligence agencies, colluding with Twitter, Facebook, and all the other platforms to have information censored from the general public. What are they alleging that Trump colluded with Russia to do? Make memes? Influence the election? What does suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop do? What does suppressing the Tara Reade story do? They actively did that, and there's proof of it. And they talk about Russiagate still till this day as if Trump colluded with Russia to sway voter opinions and win the 2016 election. Meanwhile, the 2020 election absolutely wasn't stolen, even though the Department of Justice colluded with American social media companies to suppress vital information from the voters. This whole situation is insane. Everything is backwards. These people are out of their freaking minds.
Felony, the underlying conspiracy. That is as serious a crime, tampering with American democracy, as you can have. And the judge knows that. So I think serious risk of jail sentence, not certain.
Everything they're saying, Trump tampering with American democracy. What are they doing right now on CNN? This is voter interference, what they're doing. Spinning this propaganda, all of it. Outright lying to the American public about stuff. Very fine people on both sides. All of the things, all of the insane things that they did, and they just project all of that onto Donald Trump, the most investigated man in history that keeps coming out clean as a whistle, except now because they convicted him on trumped up charges. No pun intended. People are out of their minds. They're out of their minds. Stuff is maddening. It's absolutely maddening. So this is from Colin Rugg. He says, breaking, the Trump campaign has raised a total of $52.8 million in the 24 hours following Trump's conviction in New York. 52.8 million in 24 hours. The amount means the Trump campaign is raking in over $2 million an hour. The Trump campaign also reported that over a third of the donations came from 2 donors. I didn't think you could do that. With more than 1/3 of these donors being new to the campaign, it is clear that more and more Americans are seeing through the Biden election interference and joining President Trump in the movements to save our nation, the campaign announced. Insane. Yeah, it's banana balls. The whole thing is freaking banana balls. So this was spotted in California today. I saw another. I personally saw one of these on the overpass today. It didn't say "suck my dick," but it was a sign on an overpass in the Bay Area. I think it was in San Jose that I saw it. It was either San Jose or Fremont. But I mean, you're seeing this stuff. This is California here. I don't know. I can't tell from the freeway where this is. It looks more like Southern California, but I genuinely think if the elections weren't rigged, and even if they are in California, RFK throws a giant monkey wrench into this situation. RFK is going to take a lot of votes from Biden. I'm talking specifically about California here. I think RFK is going to take a lot of votes from Biden, like a lot. Democrats don't want to vote for Biden anymore. Gavin Newsom doesn't help the whole situation because everybody's just fed up with Gavin Newsom. Grocery prices are out of control. Gas is out of control. Electricity is out of control. There's crime everywhere. They go after working class people for parking tickets, for speeding tickets, for things that they can easily extract money from the middle class. Meanwhile, you've got like literal murders and muggings in broad daylight and nothing happens. Shutting down freeways, shutting down intersections. It's crime is out of control, and they're going after people that, it wouldn't be hard to extract money from them. Meanwhile, everybody's living in chaos. So I think there is a chance Trump could win California, even with as rigged as the situation is. I think Trump can win California with RFK in the situation. I really do. All right, last thing. This is this guy just popped up in my feed, and he made a lot of valid points here. So let's watch this quick video. Let's see actually who is this from. This is from Wall Street Apes. I don't know who made this video. He doesn't mention. I wish he did. Maybe I'll say at the end of it. So this guy makes a lot of good points here.
Donald Trump is convicted before anyone on Epstein's client list. Huh. Okay. We have politicians that go into office worth about $2, and now they're millionaires. Yet he's the one being funny with money? Huh. Okay. You charge him for allegedly paying people to hush when you have others who literally have unexplained bodies dropping around them. Huh. Okay. Some of you have been nothing but quiet until now, afraid to speak out, but somehow believe posting a flag upside down is going to turn this whole thing around. Huh. Okay. I think most of us can agree what's going on is not okay. And no one is coming to save the day. If it wasn't going to be before, unless they do something drastic, it's Trump 2024 for sure. Take action.
Why is he hiking around? Is he hiking around in his plate carrier? I don't understand. I'm confused. I mean, why not though? I mean, hey, rock on. Yeah, it's all good. I don't even have a plate carrier. I wish I did. If you guys want to donate a plate carrier, please let me know. I could sure use one. Okay, that's all the stuff I want to talk about with Trump stuff. The whole situation's insane, but I want to get into the Dave Smith destroying Andrew Cuomo stuff a little bit before I get out of here. Pete Grabber up here in Northern California. I don't know anybody that likes Biden, even Democrats. How far up north? I'm curious. It's as soon as you get outside of the Bay Area, I mean, any city centers really. I mean, there you see tons of Trump supporters up here. It's weird in Santa Cruz because it's like it might be like this everywhere. It's like people that support Joe Biden are like rabid, crazy progressives they're like brainwashed. They're like the brainwashed people. So you get these complete polar opposites going on, and there isn't really people like in the middle anymore. Everybody's getting forced so hard to one side. It's kind of insane. It's Grunt, am I moving from Santa Cruz? I want to, but moving's very difficult. Moving is expensive. I have 2 dogs, one of which is a pit bull, and people don't like pit bulls. People don't like renting to people with dogs as it is. So yeah, and my work situation has always been kind of insane. Hopefully I can stay on with this union call. It's a union job that I got right now, but again, it's only a month call, but hopefully I can stay on after this project's over. So we'll see. The RGS, no one is coming to save the day for sure. Q is a psyop. The Bolsheviks used the same strategy before they took over. The Bolsheviks. Yeah, well, if you guys haven't listened to the Martyr Made podcast, you should. It's that is a great one. It's from like 2015. Daryl Cooper. It's insane. That podcast gives it's not a podcast. It's like a long, it's like an audiobook. He goes so in depth. It's pretty gnarly. Pete Grabber, 20 minutes north of Sacramento, all the way to the Oregon border. That's only 20 minutes north of Sacramento? Really? All the way from 20 minutes. I get what you're saying. 20 minutes north of Sacramento, all the way up to the Oregon border. Yeah, I would agree with that. My buddy lives out in Granite Bay, and it's pretty. People are pretty based out there. And then the more you get into the mountains, I mean, Grass Valley's or what is it, Nevada, like Nevada City, or is it Nevada County? I can't remember. They're kind of liberal out there though too. It's weird. It's weird wherever you go. My ideal situation, to answer your question, Grunt, it would be I want to go to Auburn. I would love to live in Auburn, Placerville, anywhere around that area. That's where I want to go really badly. So I would love to go there. So that would be the ultimate goal. All right. I want to get into some of this Dave Smith stuff because this shit's insane. He absolutely ripped Cuomo apart. And he started off just by bringing joy to my cold black heart. Because, I mean, I was driving home listening to this, and I had to like do a screen grab of this video just while I was driving, and then I edited it when I got home because it's like he was sticking up for me. It genuinely felt like he was sticking up for me in this situation here. If you guys don't know, my dad died of a heart attack during COVID, in like peak COVID in June of, actually it was July of 2020. And I didn't get to have a funeral for him. It sucked. It was horrible. And being the weird guy my dad was, he used to talk about like, when I die, I don't want a funeral. I want a big party. That's what he used to always say. I don't want anybody being sad. I don't want any of that crap. He used to talk about how he wanted a party, and he didn't. Yeah, that's what he wanted. Well, we didn't get to have either of those. We didn't get to have a funeral at all. I got to say goodbye to my dad in a big room with a bunch of chairs in it and his casket up front. That's it. Me by myself. They wouldn't allow my sister to come in with me. They wouldn't allow my stepmom to come in. We couldn't just be there even though we drove in the car together to the funeral home, they wouldn't allow us to go into the room together. The whole thing, they stole my dad's funeral from me. And then they tried to ruin my career for refusing to wear a mask in February of 2023. And Dave Smith really, he just handed it to Chris Cuomo here, because Chris Cuomo, Dave Smith describes the whole thing that they did as totalitarian. And Chris Cuomo tries to like poo-poo that and say it wasn't totalitarian. It's like being hyperbolic. And how? Again, when we're in it, it's hard to look at it from like, you know, the grand scheme of things, stepping back and looking at what we did. But we weren't, and people that took the vaccine, even people that were against mandates and all that stuff, I don't think people truly understand what it was like for people that were just like, no, I'm not doing any of this. Fuck you. Take everything you want from me. I'm not taking the injection. I don't care. Do what you're going to do. I'm not taking it. It was very difficult for us. Very difficult. The more liberal of a place you were in, the more difficult it was. The propaganda was everywhere. Your friends disowned you. You weren't allowed to eat in restaurants. It was the propaganda and the vitriol towards the unvaccinated. It was sick. And then we had to live in this constant fear that we were going to lose our careers because Joe Biden mandated that companies with more than 100 employees have to force their employees to take the shot. And even before the Supreme Court stepped in, a lot of people just did it because they just figured it would keep going. And then, you know, medical staff that were that refused to take it, that, you know, they were called heroes just months before, and then all of a sudden they're trying to kill grandma. It was just like how manipulatable, if that's a word, how easy malleable that people's opinions were by the corporate press. Like, hey, we're hating these people now. Hey, everyone, you know, CNN, the unvaccinated are the evil people now, and that's who we're attacking now. So go to work. That's what happened. And to not call the government telling companies that they have to fire people if they don't take this experimental injection that has an emergency use authorization that should have never been given to it because of ivermectin, azithromycin, hydroxychloroquine, all these different combinations of drugs that were working as treatments for COVID that were completely railroaded, because if there is an effective treatment for COVID, they can't have a vaccine given emergency use authorization. So naturally, everybody colluded together to suppress any sort of treatments, which turns out that, hey, those treatments worked and the vaccine didn't, and it never should have been given an emergency use authorization. All of the stuff that happened was totalitarian. The government forcing companies to do that, forcing state governments to do it. It was all totalitarian. And sorry for the rant, but this clip here, when he just stuck it to Chris Cuomo, and this was like right out of the gate, this is very early on in the debate, he said people weren't allowed to have funerals for their fathers. And I was just like, dude, like it, I mean, I know Dave will never watch this, but seriously, thank you. It meant a lot. It's, people weren't allowed to have funerals for their loved ones. People had to watch their loved ones die alone in a hospital. What they did was sick. It was sick and twisted, what they did to people. And it wasn't just Dave Smith going up against Chris Cuomo in some debate. This was him exposing the entire establishment for what it was, because that's what Chris Cuomo represents. He represents Don Lemon, CNN, Brian Stelter, that little potato. Like, what happened to him? What he did to Chris Cuomo in this super long debate was like slowly dissecting every single lie they told and just throwing it in Chris Cuomo's narcissistic face. It was just a beautiful sight to see. So this was right out of the gate. Dave Smith calling out exactly what happened. And so this is the first clip I want to play.
Okay, first of all, when I describe the lockdowns that swept this nation in 2020 as totalitarian, just to be clear, I'm not being hyperbolic. When you're waking up every morning to watch your TV, to find out from your governor what you're allowed to do today, including, am I allowed to go to work? Am I allowed to have a funeral for my father? Am I allowed to see my family? Am I allowed to step outside without a cover on my face? There is one word and one word only for that, and that is totalitarianism. I'm sorry.
And again, like, thank you, Dave Smith. This was this wasn't just against Chris Cuomo, this debate. This was against the entire establishment and exposing them for what they were and what they did to people and how propagandized they made people. I mean, there's people that will never psychologically recover for what they were put through at the hand of people like Chris Cuomo and the corporate press. It was evil what they did. And Dave took no mercy on them, none whatsoever. And it was brilliant, and I haven't even finished watching it, but I mean, point by point, just ripping Chris Cuomo to shreds, because he had no leg to stand on anything that he was saying. None of it. It was beautiful. So I have a few clips that I want to play from this whole debate that just took place. It's only a few hours old, so I just pulled up a handful of clips that, I mean, the whole debate is magnificent. Watch the entire thing, but these are just some highlight clips that I saw floating around that I thought I'd share with you guys.
It was kind of amazing to watch you admit so many of the things that you admitted on the podcast with Pat, but at the same time, you laughed off the idea of an apology. Yeah. Your first thing you said was apology. No way.
And this is Chris Cuomo. If you guys have never dealt with a narcissist and then like gone down the rabbit hole of narcissism, like actual clinical narcissistic personality disorder, and like realized, holy crap, I've been dealing with a narcissist, like a high level narcissist, people that refuse to admit that they're wrong, people that do there's a whole cycle that it goes through, the love bomb, the devaluing, the gaslighting, all of it. Chris Cuomo, I mean, I'm not a clinical psychologist, I can't diagnose him, but I would bet money that Chris Cuomo is like, he could be absolutely diagnosed as somebody with narcissistic personality disorder. His inability to admit that he was wrong, the gaslighting, the lying, the grandiose view of himself, his inflated ego, all of it. It's like everything about him. And he can't just say, you know what? I got a lot of stuff wrong with COVID. A lot of stuff. I was with the network I was with. Why is he sticking up for CNN? They fired his ass. I mean, what agreement does he have on the back end? And now he's trying to like cozy up to the right with all of this going on the Patrick Bet David podcast. He had Bill O'Reilly on his show last night. Like, what is he trying to rebrand himself? Because nobody's going to buy this shit. And watching Dave eviscerate him was just gold. Because every time Dave spoke, every time, it was just exposing him for what he is. And every time Chris Cuomo spoke, it was just so transparent, his lies. Everything he said was just such trash. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing to see.
There's no way. And then you proceeded to go on to confirm what all of us had known for so long. But you, sir, were smearing people like us for having this view. You were.
He just nods. You, sir, were smearing people like us. And he just goes, No, not, do you know what you put us through? You horrible human being. You're not some just rando walking down the street that says you need to take your vaccine. You were an authority figure in all of this. And he just sits there like he did nothing wrong. He doesn't have anything to apologize for. And that's what Dave's talking about here. You guys, you manipulated people. You demonized an entire segment of the population, and you guilted and tricked people into taking this experimental vaccine when they never needed to. So many people. And yeah, you nothing to apologize for. You psychopath.
At the time when the COVID insanity struck, you were the #1 show at CNN. A time when the nation was going through a major crisis and totalitarianism swept throughout all 50 states. Actually, -1, I think South Dakota never had lockdowns. 49 out of the 50 states went totalitarian.
They didn't have lockdowns, but they did have a dog get killed at 13 months. I think that's what happened in South Dakota. So we got to get the facts. We'll keep
it was
going.
something, I think Kim Jong-un was involved. I'm not sure about the details.
Right.
I believe that's a North Korea joke for you guys who didn't get that.
But during this moment, we really needed people, especially people who had a big platform. You were the #1 show at CNN, which is huge, almost as big as this show. And and it seems to me that you, rather than doing what your job should have been at the time, which was to be skeptical of power and to shine a light against the propaganda, it seems like you ate up every single piece of propaganda, repeated all of it without any thought to whether it was true or not, and then smeared millions of Americans like myself who were opposed to this stuff. So that's where my beef is.
Chris.
I understand your beef. Why would I not apologize? An apology is when you say something that you shouldn't have said, that was wrong to say, that you said for bad reason, or you're trying to hurt. None of those apply. I hear your understanding of the pandemic. I don't agree. I lived it closer than you in many ways.
What? That statement pissed me off. How is this dude that lives in, one of the richest guys in terms of like top percentage of wealth in the nation, and he's saying that he lived COVID more than some small, Dave's not small time, but in comparison to him, small time podcaster? Are you kidding me? Dave can walk down the street without half the population, the majority of the population recognizing him. Not so much anymore. He keeps getting bigger and bigger. But Dave was much more close and in the everyday lifestyle of the average American than Chris Cuomo that lives in this insulated bubble. And he has the audacity to say that I lived COVID much more than you did. What does that even mean? Fucking piece of shit. I can't stand Chris Cuomo.
In ways. Closer than any of you, probably, in many ways. And there were absolutely mistakes made. The idea that it was a totalitarian regime, that's hyperbole.
Such a piece of shit. I can't stand Chris Cuomo at all. Let's keep going. I got like 4 more of these that I want to play. All right, so this is from Vigilant Fox. It's just a 1-minute clip, but Vigilant Fox says, I love Vigilant Fox. It's a great account. If you guys don't follow him, just at Vigilant Fox. Dave Smith body slams Chris Cuomo on stage with one brilliant statement. He quotes it, but I want you guys to hear it from Dave. Oh, sorry. There we go.
You have the luxury of not worrying about what happens when you say what you say. I work for a place that will get a phone call from someone that they care about, okay? It will matter to them. And you can say, well, they work for this 3-letter agency that are all, bad
Chris,
people.
If I had, let me tell you something. This is what's really infuriating about you saying that, right? I understand the pressures at CNN where powerful people could make a phone call and then you could be in a lot of trouble.
No, it's
hold on, let me just,
proposition.
let's talk accountability. If I had your track record on COVID, I'd be out of business. Period. No one would listen to me anymore. I would have no way of making money.
Argue the reverse.
I'd be ruined.
I would argue the reverse.
Absolutely ruined.
If you didn't tell people that there were easy ways to get past COVID and that the vaccine was a joke and everything that happened was a joke, I don't think you'd be in business. I think if you weren't doing these things, I don't think you'd have the same platform because it sells very well in digital media.
No, I mean, it's just, first off, I never said the things that you just said. The thing is that, yes, you're right. Me being against lockdowns, against mandates, against the corruption of big pharma, again, yes, that did help.
No,
me,
and the
sure.
vaccine.
Oh, it's so triggering. This whole thing, it's so hard not to just, oh, it's so enraging. All right, let's watch one more. I'm not even going to I don't want you to read the captions because I just want to play the clips because they're so good. This whole thing was so good. Every minute of it, because Dave he demolishes him. It really was kind of a struggle session because even Patrick Bet David would like, oh, wait, hold on, Chris. They played like compilations of insane shit that they said. This was, I mean, it wasn't just Dave Smith against Cuomo. I mean, Pat got in there too. And I mean, there was one, what was it? Oh, the horse paste thing. Like Chris Cuomo was trying to say like, I never called it horse paste. I never said that. And then they just pulled up the clip and then show him saying that. And then he's just like, no, that's not true. That's out of context. What? Like, it's him and remember him and Don Lemon between their shows. Like one, I can't remember who came on first because I didn't watch their piece of shit show. But they would freaking jerk each other off before one of their shows started, and they would just agree on shit and talk crap about Joe Rogan. And that's one of the clips. He just lied so much, and then his lies were just exposed. It was beautiful. You guys have to watch this if you haven't already.
My criticism would be that your interest is about how it generates attention. And that's fine, but it won't fix. I'm telling you right now, if God forbid something happened again, we would be lost about how to do it differently. And you'd have a pocket of people, 25, 35%, who say, I'm not going to do it. And you would lose that case again.
You know, it's really wild, Chris, for you to psychoanalyze me and say my interest here is in generating attention. You're the guy who, when at CNN, said everything to defend the vaccine when you were being sponsored by Big Pharma. And all of a sudden now that you're here on PBB show, you'll say the truth. No, but for you to attack...
sponsored by Big Pharma.
No.
I'm not against the vaccine.
Hold on. You're not even listening to what I'm saying. You're attacking my motive, saying all I care about is generating interest. Meanwhile, when those CNN checks were coming in, you said nothing that would have put them in jeopardy. But now that you're
Well,
here,
what
you're
was there-
starting to
hold
tell
on.
a little bit of the truth.
So hold on. No.
This is what I loved about this whole thing was Dave did not allow himself to be bullied by that. That's what Cuomo tried to do. He tried to bully him around, and Dave was like, no, fuck you. I'm not going to let you skew the words that just came out of my mouth right now. I'm not going to let you cut me off and talk over me. I'm going to put you in your place and tell you how you're a bold-faced, lying, narcissistic piece of shit.
No, it's not. That's not true. I don't have
It
a
is.
changed opinion about the vaccine. As I'm
Chris, go look at the montages of what you were saying then to what you're saying now.
and
You don't have a changed opinion.
Absolutely not. And when Pat put out this clip, that Pat would.
I mean,
Dave has giant balls, and he does not back down from a conflict. And it was from the jump, like right off the bat. There was no like Dave pulling any punches whatsoever. It was glorious. This whole thing was glorious. Let's watch two more of these because this whole thing was just fantastic.
They don't want you to take ivermectin. Ivermectin is the way
the
to go.
ivermectin
Take it.
one.
Joe Rogan got better from. There was so much talk that they don't want you to take.
So the ivermectin stuff. Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, MD Breathe, they tried to destroy her career. They in California here, they said they would go after doctors' licenses if they spoke out against the vaccine. You could not prescribe vaccine. Pharmacies wouldn't fill prescriptions. Pharmacies still aren't filling prescriptions of ivermectin. And they try to say, like, he tries to spin it as if it was just like, they didn't really go after it that hard. No, they destroyed legitimate doctors, not just legitimate doctors, like Mary Talley Bowden. She's a ear, nose, and throat doctor that graduated from Stanford Medical School. Are you kidding? And she couldn't have her practice. And there was people that were getting sick from COVID and coming to her because they're like, what should I do? I don't want to take the vaccine. She was like, well, shit, let's try ivermectin. It's super safe. So let's at least try it. And we're hearing some good things about it. So she started doing that. She's an effing doctor. And they went after her license. She's one of the first doctors that they went after for. And they're still to this day, they're trying to ruin her. And fortunately, all the shit's being exposed now. And Dr. Mary Talley Bowden not only looks like the great doctor that she is, but she has giant, massive balls bigger than Chris Cuomo for standing up to all this nonsense. There's tons of people that were like, fuck you. Take anything you want from me. I am not backing down from you. And that's what Dr. Mary Talley Bowden did. If you guys don't follow her, MD Breathe. She's fantastic. I think to me, people that did that stuff are the heroes of all of this. Even if you just stood up, it doesn't matter like what your status was. If you just said, fuck you, no, I'm not taking this. I don't care what you take from me. You're kind of a champion. The pressure to take that thing was out of control, especially here in California. Like, you guys get it. You guys that didn't take it, you 15%ers, Californians that didn't take it, you guys get it. The propaganda signs that were everywhere you went, the commercials, everywhere you looked was propaganda about the vaccine. Take your booster, stay up to date on your COVID shots, all the shit. Getting ostracized from society, not allowing to eat in restaurants, not being allowed to go to concerts, people telling you, oh, you're not vaccinated, you have to wear a mask. Well, everybody else doesn't have to. All the bullshit that they did. The people that stood up to it, I mean, they really will, I hope, looked at as champions of this whole COVID regime. Let's listen to Dave call out Cuomo on his horse-paced ivermectin bullshit when they went after Joe Rogan. Remember when they changed the color of Joe Rogan's skin? And I don't know if it's in this clip here, but Chris Cuomo tries to say that Joe Rogan said, just take ivermectin by itself. And it's like, are you kidding me? The clip that they pulled from Joe Rogan, the clip that Joe Rogan made in his backyard, where he says, they put me on ivermectin, azithromycin, zinc, and like 3 other drugs. Like they put together a whole kit. And then Chris Cuomo tries to say Joe Rogan was saying, just take ivermectin. It's like, what? Are you joking? And he was trying to imply that Joe Rogan was taking horse paste. The whole thing was out of freaking control.
there was so much talk that they don't want you to take ivermectin. Ivermectin is the way to go. Take it. Joe Rogan got better from ivermectin. And by the way, I don't like what people did to Joe Rogan about ivermectin. I don't like it.
You did it.
No.
Yes, you did.
Find the clips.
Dude, find the clips. You shamed Joe Rogan.
Find the
you
clips.
said he's taking horse dewormer. You and Don Lemon were chuckling at each other about it.
No,
I'll go find
first
the
of all,
clip.
you just saw the clips.
I watched
I'm
it.
not chuckling. I'm listening to Don. But
No.
Oh, I think this is it. I hope they play the clip because it's like this just shows what a gaslighter he is.
The clip I'm talking about wasn't on there, and it's absolutely
yes.
there. Oh, here, do we have it? Hold on, let's play the clip.
Injecting drugs for animals and horse.
And people telling them to. Oh my God. What person? You know, you talk about cancel culture and who to shame. Ivermectin, a dewormer, really?
They are shaming themselves.
That's
right there. You just heard Chris Cuomo say, I wasn't saying that. And then it shows a clip of him. Watch how he responds. This is the complete narcissistic response you would expect.
What it is.
They're shaming themselves.
So you're taking a dewormer right now.
This
Chris, you can't apologize for that. You weren't being clear that it was this, and you know that, dude. You're being so dishonest right now.
I'm not being
You were
dishonest.
talking about ivermectin, the drug. You were not talking about this version of ivermectin. Come on.
This whole thing was brilliant. I mean, it just exposed the entire regime. The whole thing was out of freaking control. It just drove me insane. Check the chat really quick. I got one more clip I want to play, but check with the chats. All right, you guys are just chatting amongst each other. Keep going here. All right, it's gonna be the last clip I'll play. Then get out of here. I need to go to bed. Yeah, I gotta be up at 3 a.m. again. All right, let's. Oh, so this wasn't about the COVID stuff. This was about the Russia crap. This is a bit of a longer clip, and I'll just try to let it play all the way through.
Yes, in 2020 March, instead of making China the boogeyman, we made Trump the boogeyman. That's what you did. CNN did that.
No, that's not what I did.
So CNN didn't make Trump the boogeyman.
Trump has always been the boogeyman for most of the media.
Right, but
it wasn't about COVID. Well, I'm just telling you, it wasn't about COVID.
Well, he certainly
actually
was the
got kind of a
boogeyman.
pass.
Yes, he was the boogeyman far before COVID.
Sure,
when you guys were repeating mindlessly every day that there was some giant conspiracy with Trump and Russia, and leading the entire country to believe that our election had been stolen by a hostile foreign power, and that Vladimir Putin had, and once again, like we won't get out of you tonight, not one apology from anyone at CNN when it turns out there was zero evidence that was true. And you could say we just guessed right, but all of us who were paying attention knew from the very beginning that this was totally made up. And of all the things you could say about Donald Trump,
how could you have known right from the very beginning that it was totally made up?
Because it was the most absurd claim ever. That when the CIA comes out and says Vladimir Putin has overthrown our elections and installed Donald Trump in there and presents zero evidence to back it up.
That's not the investigation. That's not the allegation.
Well, no, but it was what people on your former network said daily.
Listen,
it was what people
not
on
only
MSNBC
have
said
I never
daily.
said that Russia put in Trump.
So you're
I've never had anyone
Chris,
on my show who
Chris,
said that.
Let's just be honest here for a second.
Go ahead.
Are you
Try
going to
it.
genuinely tell me that CNN and MSNBC did not every day for 3 years give the impression that Donald Trump was involved in a conspiracy with the Russians?
They absolutely covered the investigation into Donald Trump from a special prosecutor every day. MSNBC did it differently, I would argue, than CNN.
Why was that special prosecutor appointed?
Why was it appointed? Because the
This is brilliant.
Attorney General thought he should be.
Here's why. And he admitted it himself on 60 Minutes, if any of you guys want to go back and listen to it. Andrew McCabe, the number 3 guy at the Justice Department, said, after Donald Trump fired Comey, these are his words, not mine. After he fired Comey, they decided to try to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove him on the grounds that he was unstable. And they realized they couldn't get enough of his cabinet to do it, so they settled on a special prosecutor. That's why. Not a single one of them thought he was a Russian spy. Let me tell you something. Carter Page, the one guy who got in trouble from the FBI, as I'm sure you guys both know. Why did he get in trouble? Because he lied to the FISA court. Because the CIA told the FBI that Carter Page was their guy. They knew he wasn't a Russian spy. The whole thing was complete nonsense just to frame Donald Trump so he couldn't get his agenda through. And CNN ran with it every single day. Unquestioning about the story itself.
I don't see it the same way.
I don't understand why he agreed to this. He knew nothing about Dave Smith when he agreed to it. He even says that in this whole debate thing. But of all the people on earth to go up against in a debate about COVID policy and the Russiagate stuff, you're going to go up against Dave Smith. Do you see how he just pulled all this stuff right out of his brain? Like he's got little filing cabinets in there that he can just access this stuff at a whim. And he's charismatic. He's funny. The way he says the things, he ripped Chris Cuomo apart and he had no response. The entire thing. I haven't finished it. People voted on it, like who won. Like Patrick Bet David had some sort of that's the last clip. Patrick Bet David had some sort of voting mechanism for the audience to decide who won the debate. I don't know how that went. Again, I haven't finished it, but the whole thing that I watched, and yeah, granted, I'm a Dave Smith fan. I mean, yes, I'm a giant Dave Smith fan, but I'm trying to speak neutrally. There wasn't like a single cogent argument that Chris Cuomo made against any of the crap that Dave Smith was saying. Every single point that Chris Cuomo had that he tried to make, he would get called out on his bullshit. He would get called out on how it's a lie, how you are spinning things, and saying people said things that they didn't actually say, and exposing it for everybody, for the world to see. The whole thing was just beautiful. It was just it was excellent. J503, I want more than just an apology. Sadly, I doubt that'll ever happen. Yeah, you're not gonna, he's a narcissist. He's never going to apologize. It's not gonna happen. Yeah, news anchor spanked by a comedian like a Vegas hooker paid extra. Yeah, the RGS, he knows what he said. He's just gaslighting to cover his ass. Classic narcissistic asshole move. Yeah, this whole thing was it was Dave Smith just ripping Chris Cuomo apart the whole time. It was fantastic. It was awesome. Let's see. All right. That is I gotta get to bed, you guys. That is all I got for the evening. If you guys got this far, please give the show a like. I should have said something earlier. If you guys are parents, go over to California Parents Union /CaliBased.com. Sign up if you're a California parent. You want to fight back against the teachers unions, all that stuff. If you're a teacher and you want to leave the teachers unions, if you want to fight back against the wokeness, you got a kid in school, go to CaliforniaParentsUnion.com /CaliBased. Sign up. It's $25 a year. You get legal, and there's legal forms that you have access to, documents you'll have access to that you can, if you don't want teachers teaching a certain subject, if you don't want them keeping information from you, you can put them on notice with actual legal forms. There's homeschooling advice. There's tons of resources, $25 a month. All that stuff. If you want to contribute to the show, you can click that tip button in my Twitter bio. You can, it'll bring you right to my Venmo, Cash App, all that good stuff. Yeah, give the show a thumbs up. Best way you can help the show is repost, share it with a friend, leave a comment, all that kind of stuff. All that stuff helps. It's a growing podcast. And yeah, I think that is about it. All you guys over on the X platform, Pete Grabber, T-Bone Tony, Ichiban Death, Tradcat, thank you guys so much for hanging out. The RGS, Grunt, J503. What else we got in here? All right, I'm glad you guys were chatting so much back and forth here. You guys, Grunt and the RGS, you guys should follow each other on Twitter if you aren't already. And RGS got a cool little podcast. You guys should watch it. It's over on Rumble. The RGS, check it out. It's a very fun one. I will be back here on Sunday night, actually Sunday evening, 5 in the evening. I'm going to be interviewing Paul Turney, a survivor from the USS Liberty, and that will be a fun one. It's probably gonna be like a 2-hour interview. So hopefully you guys can join in for that one, because that's gonna be a good conversation. I'm probably not going to be interacting with the chat during that stream because I really want to keep it. I want to keep it very conversational between us, and there's a sort of a story I want to tell. I'm going to do this interview a little differently than the ones that he's done in the past. I'm going to sort of like walk through a timeline, and yeah, so hopefully you can join on Sunday. I might do a stream tomorrow night just to shoot the shit and see yeah, just see how things are going tomorrow. There's plenty of stuff I haven't talked about. I want to talk about the Libertarian candidate a little bit too, even though everybody's beat that into the bush. All right, that is all I got for this evening. Is there anything else I wanted to mention? No, I think that is it. But you guys know how we do it. Before we get out of here, got to tell a joke from the greatest book ever written, The Truth About Chuck Norris. Let's see, what do we have tonight? I hope it's a good one. I could use a good joke. Okay, all right. Here's the Chuck Norris joke of the evening. I scanned it a little bit. I don't know if it's going to be funny. Hopefully it is. All right, here we go. Chuck Norris, joke of the evening. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Chuck Norris has no concept of time. If you go to his house, you won't find a single clock. When you ask to leave because it's getting late, he stares at you blankly until you sit back down. And on that note, stay CaliBased.